Setting up and organizing your business. So this is a big part of it. Some of you have already done this. So this might be just kind of a check for you as you go along to see maybe you haven't done some of this or you haven't thought about it. But our objectives overview of setting up. I've created 12 steps to set up and organizing your business. And then we can talk about it. And what makes this a little bit nuanced is you all live in different places. And so there's some federal rules, and then there's some state level rules, and then there's some local municipality type rules. Obviously, I can't know about all of those things because there's too many of them. So I'll talk generally about the things that apply to everybody, and you'll have to kind of dig a little bit deeper into your local area. And based on what kind of business you do, sometimes there's different requirements for that. Right. I mean, if you're transporting food around or you're, transporting fuel, those are things that you might have to have some kind of special permit for versus somebody who's doing coaching or, fitness training. It's different. Okay. So everybody's a little bit different in that. But here's my 12 steps in here. And I have a little bit of a reason to my rhythm on this, and I'll explain because I kind of go away. You're like, why would you put it in this order? I'll kind of explain it as I go along. Obviously, the first thing is committing to start, and most of you have done that, but a lot of people have all these ideas and they just don't commit to start. And the reason this is important is because you have to say, okay, I'm doing this. Because what happens sometimes is people try to put their toe in, like, well, I'll see if I can dabble in it. And they don't really go all in, so they don't really give themselves a chance to really make it work. And they go, oh, I tried, but it didn't work. We didn't really fully commit to it. Committing to it means I'm going to push through this thing even when it gets hard. So committing to start is the first part there. That's kind of that mindset. Like, yeah, I know this isn't going to be all easy, but I'm going for it. I put selecting a domain name second because most of what we do is online anymore, and having a presence online is kind of like hanging your shingle anymore. And I think there's so many benefits to having your own website. Whether it's just, it adds validity to you as an organization, as a company. Hey, I've got a website and I can point you to it. You don't even have to use it a whole lot, but because it's out there, it opens up some other doors for you to do some things. And it's a place to send people that are used to doing things online. So it becomes a place. So why is secure a domain name second? Well, if you've not yet set up your business, now is the time to figure out what website addresses are available. So if I thought that Nike.com was Nike was a great name for a business, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to register as Nike. Well, that one's obviously not going to make it very far, but there may not be a website available that's even close to your name. So if you can get a website that ties to your name pretty well, then that helps with your branding and your marketing. So you're not saying, hey, my company is, Susie's Crafts, but I want you to go to Joe's tradeshow.com for my website, right? There's a disconnect there because they're not the same. People are like, what are you talking about? Why isn't it Susie's craftshop.com? So checking to see what domain names are available helps. So in the two businesses I started first, what domain names were available that I could get a website for that I could make my company name also. That's where I started. That's why I say that. That's the reason for that. Okay. And then, create your business plan, and we'll talk about that. Determine your funding. We'll get into some of that. Your business structure, registering your business, your licenses, state and federal IDs, business bank account, accounting process, your digital presence, and then insuring your business. So let's dig into these. All right, committing to start. We talked about that. You got to step over the line and get going. Secure your domain name. There's lots of places you can go to search for available domain name. A domain name is just your URL, it's your web address. Those cost about $10 to $30 a year. They're not real expensive. And you can get multiple ones. You can get variations of it if you want to have that and have them all point to the same website. So if somebody gets it not quite right, but close, and they land on another one that's close that you own, you can point it to your own website too. So that's another good thing if you're trying to drive a lot of people to your website. So for example, one of my companies is called Best You, BEST, the letter U, and .com wasn't available. So I went with bestyou.life because I thought that was Best You Life got a good ring to it. But I also got, I don't know, I could probably get bestyou.org, Best You, other things. So if somebody typed in any variation of that, they could all go to my one website if I bought multiple domains. Some web hosting sites where actually you can put your website. They'll give you a free domain for the first year if you do your web hosting there. So this is an example, like Bluehost will do that. Bluehost is a good web hosting site. So that's the first thing. Does anybody have any trouble setting up a domain name, or they need to do that still? Any questions on the domain name, website name?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you get your domain name, how long do you have to set that website up afterwards?
You don't ever have to set it up. You could just hold on to it. I mean, it's not going to point in it. It won't go anywhere, but you own it. And then as long as you keep renewing it, then you'll be able to keep it. But
is there anything you could do with your domain name without having a website?
Yeah, you could create your email address could be tied to that domain name. In other words, if like I have, use my example again, bestyou.life, I have emails, Kevin@bestyou.life is one of my emails. So you can use the domain name as your email as well without having set up your website.
Yes, Kevin, I want a domain name too, but I don't want a website necessarily. I just want to own that name.
Okay. You can just buy it. Yeah, never really set anything up if you want. If somebody
how much a year?
It's about $10 to $30 a year. I mean, it's not very much.
And I have to go through them to officiate their domain name?
So there's a international organization that manages all domain names so that there's no duplicity, and multiple sellers will sell domain names, but they're all working against that same registry. You can go to domains.com. It's just domain names, but a lot of web hosting will offer the service to get a domain name to their company, but it's using this registration.
Right. Right. I'm sorry, but it's one that I made up already that I want to use. How's that go?
Do you know it's available or not?
Oh, I haven't looked to see was it available.
So that's the key,
it's
right?
It's just an idea right now. I haven't done anything. This is new. I haven't done anything. This is the idea that I want.
All right. I won't ask you what it is because you're probably trying to keep it, on the down low. But
yes, I am.
Right. So this is the type of site you could go to, and you could see is your domain name available. So let's try Diane Diet Superstar. Search.
Okay.
All right. And it says, okay, look, here's Diane Diet. So it took what I gave and it said, okay, here's what I got. DianeDiet.com, $10 a year. Diet Super. It took all these different variations of it. And you can see the different prices and it tells you what's available. All right. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's try something simpler.
That's domains.com.
That's that one. Yeah, there's lots of different sites you can search for, but they're all searching against the same register, so you can know what they cost and what's available.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's do plant-based life.
Kevin, can I ask a question? I'm sorry. So yeah. even if you choose under your discussion on domains, if you choose to create an email and you're buying this, I don't know what you're buying, but you're buying what, a title? You're buying rights to it, or what is it that you're paying the $30 for?
Well, this is considered a domain name. This is an address on the internet with this address. So this one would be like plantbasedlife.info.
Yeah.
Right? That would be, $5 the first year. I don't know what it goes up to after that. It renews at 30 at that one. All these have different pricings, but you can see they're all different price. So Vine-based life, if you bought that, nobody else could use that address. And you could point that address to any website you wanted to create, or you could assign it to any email that you wanted to create, but nobody else could do that. Only you could.
So in other words, you're buying the email, the opportunity to use that email as your own.
Well, you could use it in your email, but you're really buying, this is called a URL. It's a domain name. It's a unique name that only one person can have, and you're buying that. And with that comes the opportunity for you to attach it to a website and or make an email out of it.
Got it.
I have a question.
Yes.
My business name is keepyourhabitat@gmail.com, and it's been that way for several years now. I've
That's your
never
email?
paid nothing for it. I just opened up a Gmail account. Is that a domain name, and
No.
do I have to pay to protect it?
No, that's your unique email, right? So everybody has an email and they use it, they own that email, that's their email. But if you ever wanted to change that into something like Ruby at, what was the first part again?
keepyourhabitat@gmail.com.
All right, so if you go to Keep Your Habitat, okay, keepyourhabitat.org. Let's say you wanted to make that your website, right? You can do that. And then when you own that, now you could make an email that was Ruby at keepyourhabitat.org. So Gmail gets out of it at that point. No longer would you have to have the Gmail in there.
Okay, now scroll up a little bit. Up at the very top, it said keepyourhabitat.com is available for $9.99. Now, what's the difference between that and what you just showed me?
Well, .com is, was set up initially for companies, and a lot of people like that. That's the most common suffix of these. They've since created lots of other suffixes, as you can tell here, .org, .net, .info, .co, .us, .online, all these. Typically, .com is the most expensive if it's available, but orgs are usually nonprofits a lot of times. They don't have to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said org.
You, Ruby, I grab it.
I know, that's why I was getting ready to run and get my credit card. You said Kevin, you said org is usually for a nonprofit.
A lot of times, yeah.
Okay, mine is a nonprofit. So, and then you pay, and you got to pay once a year, you said?
Yeah, and you can set it up with auto renewal, so it pays, it just comes out.
Okay.
But you could do both. You could get .com and .org, and then you push them both to the same place, and whatever one that people put in, it goes to the same place. That's what I was telling you before.
Okay.
You can promote whatever one you want, and if they get it wrong, you still get them on your website because you have both of them. All right, so that's a big deal.
Kevin, I have another question.
Yeah,
you
sure.
Don't mind. You talked about federal and federal and state taxes on one of your slide things. So if you choose a domain, is that when you pay taxes, or when do you pay these taxes?
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that one.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Sure. That's a domain name. Then do business plan.
Wait a minute. I got a question on the domain name. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I signed up with WordPress for my domain name, but it doesn't come up anywhere. Like when you Google it, it doesn't come up. Is it something I'm missing?
Well, do you have a domain name?
Yeah, CoachDiane.blog.
CoachDiane.blog?
Yeah.
BLOG? Yeah, it comes up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It came up.
It came up, yeah. I typed it in right. Coach Diane, that's you. Same picture you got.
Oh my. When did that happen?
Now there's not much here. I mean, you've got this one page and there's not much on it, but
yeah. Oh my. Okay, well they must have did something. Okay, good. Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, there's something there. There's something there. All right, ready to move on? That's number 2. We got to step 2. Step 3, create your business plan. I've been doing classes on this, right? We've been working on this. Those of you in the accelerator program, it's a simple idea, but it's a complex thing to do a little bit because you have to kind of wrestle through some things, and many of it's made you kind of open your eyes to different things and reconsider some things and hopefully get more clarity, which is good. That's the whole goal of it. So do that. I'm a big fan of the one pager. Don't bog yourself down in this really long, elaborate business plan. But again, having a plan is what's important. It gives you direction of where you're going. Number 4, funding strategy. So are you going to self-fund this? Are you going to, do you have saved up cash? Are you going to max out your credit cards to pay for this? Are you going to drain your 401 retirement to do this? Have you had some windfall that you can do this for? I mean, people do all kinds of things. You know, if you can pay cash and not get into debt, you're going to be better off. Digging out of debt is no fun and can really strap you. That's not great. You could crowdfund. That's getting more and more popular. If you have something that you can get other people to be interested in and they get excited about it, they can crowdfund that. That's a way to kind of, what crowdfunding allows you to do is kind of get people that are not really big givers to be able to, a lot of small givers to give money to help what you're doing. The other next level would be raising money from family and friends. Most people start their businesses self-funded or with family and friends money. That's what a lot of them start with. Now, got to be real careful raising money from family and friends, because many relationships have been turned south because family or friends share money and the business doesn't go well, and then it strains the relationship. So you got to be careful with that part of it. You know, people mean well, but not everybody handles money the same way. So you got to be careful who you trust with all of that kind of stuff. And then micro loans, these are small loans that are available out there that you can get, and you can try to get other funding or grants. You can do that as well. We're writing for grants. This is the grant part is a lot of work. It depends on what kind of industry you're in and what kind of business it is. My experience with nonprofits is most grants have already determined who they're going to give. They're kind of just going through the formality of more people kind of going in the process. But people, you know, some people are good at getting the grants, but I've not had great success with all of those. If I know somebody, that helps a lot in an organization, right? That helps with your relationship. Going back to our networking class a little bit there on that. So funding is a big part of this, and knowing what it takes to get started and what it takes to keep this thing going is important. So determine that funding strategy, part of the business plan, but the different options there. Any comments on that?
No, I used to work for a nonprofit, and that was one of my jobs, to write grant proposals. And that was great and everything. We always got it. But then when I went on my own, I never got one when I wrote it. I said, what happened?
It's like the same person writing it, but now you're not getting them. What in the world?
Exactly. Yeah. But I wanted to know, how do you, what they call a piggyback off another nonprofit that in your industry? Like, how can I find like someone who does leadership and personal development coaching that's a nonprofit and work with them?
Yeah, no, you probably heard me say, I don't think we need more nonprofits. We need more nonprofits working together and more people
Exactly. That's what I want to know. How would I connect with that?
Yeah, I think, you know, Googling, you know, just Google in your area how you do that. Google what you're looking for in your area and see if anything pops up there. Talking to people, networking again, tell people what you're looking for, see if you can find them that way.
Benchmarking.
Okay. What's that?
And benchmarking.
Benchmarking, yeah.
Yeah, go out to see what other people are doing, and not in your location necessarily, even in another state, you can kind of make some arrangements that way.
Yeah, get some ideas from them, right? They might be doing it really good there, right?
It's a good class on LinkedIn that may be helpful for her to check in on.
That's good, yeah.
Yes, they just had that this week. Yes, on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, yeah.
What was the name of it? Benchmarking?
Well, that's a practice.
Not the name of it. That's a practice.
Yeah, the class was about LinkedIn. The program LinkedIn, where you have businesses and nonprofits on there that you can connect with there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but what was the name of the class on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. That's what it get.
Yeah,
you know,
search
LinkedIn.
Oh, I see. Go to LinkedIn and then look it up. Okay, gotcha.
Well, it's in GetSetUp. GetSetUp
has it.
Yeah.
Oh, GetSetUp has it.
Yeah.
They just had it this week.
There you go.
Oh, okay. I have to look that up. Okay. Thank you.
Is that Wade? Does he teach that? Wade?
I think it's Scott or either Wade. I don't remember.
One of the two. Yeah, one of the two of them. Good. All right. Let's number 5, select your business structure. So how do you want to be organized? Do you want to be for-profit, nonprofit, a sole proprietorship, a limited liability corporation, LLC, an S corp, or do you want to operate kind of as a DBA, doing business as? If you're already set up, tell me what you have already organized as. If you guys, any of you already have set up, what did you organize as?
Deborah is a DBA.
Okay. All right. So
Nonprofit.
What's that?
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Okay.
I'm incorporated as a nonprofit in Georgia. I just need to move it up here to Washington State.
Okay. All right. Mantel did LLC. I see. Yeah. Anybody else? Leslie's an LLC. My 2 companies are LLCs. So let's talk about the differences, right? Most of you understand the difference between for-profit and nonprofit. Here's my personal opinion on these. If you are going, when would you want to do a nonprofit? Because you can make money in either one. I mean, both of them can pay you a salary. Both of them can do that. That's not a problem. There's a lot more paperwork with nonprofit because you have to keeping up with compliance every year and doing 990 and special paperwork and all. And it has to be more transparent about all the funding because of the nonprofit status. You can save on sales tax because you're a nonprofit. That's one thing. But the biggest advantage, I think, of the nonprofit is it helps you if your major source of income is going to be from donors, people who want to get a tax credit for a donation. They have to give to a legitimate nonprofit to be able to give a tax credit for that donation. If that's the primary way of you getting funded, then that makes sense. If that's not your source of being funding, I would encourage you to just set up as a for-profit. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. Doesn't mean people can't donate to you. It just means they can't write it off at the same time. But if that's on the rare occasion you get a donation like that, that's fine. But if the majority of your donations are majority of your funding is through donations, then you do a nonprofit. That's my personal opinion on that. I kind of boil it down to that. It's, really simplifying it, but that's what I say there. The sole proprietorship allows you to set up as a business, and you can pass through all your income into your personal income. You file one tax return, and your business is just flowed into your personal account. And you can set up additionally as a sole proprietor as a DBA, meaning Deborah can set up as a sole proprietorship using a DBA that says, hey, Deborah's her personal name, but she has a business that's called Deborah's Goodies or whatever, right? It's I forgot, it's Vase
Place.
So that's her DBA is Vase Place. And then so she has checks that say, right, they have your name, but they say DBA Vase Place, right? So she has a checking account that has that on there. And so people can write a check to Vase Place and she can still get it. So it allows her to do that way without setting up as an LLC or a C Corp or S Corp. Okay, then you move into the LLCs, and the LLC would create a separation between you and your business. And it's a separate entity altogether, and it has its own, there's a little bit of liability protection in that. You have to have separate checking accounts for that. All your bookkeeping has to be separate for that. And it's got a different name altogether. So that's what that is. And then if you organize an LLC, convert that into an S Corp, then it has some tax advantages, and your accountants can help you with that, or your CPA. Okay, so there's some different liability and tax aspects that go along with each. I'm going to give you a link that gets into this even more, but that's what these things are. I also, if you've not set up as one, you could get an attorney to do this, or you could go to LegalZoom and do this. I've used LegalZoom once, and I've had other people use it, and it's really, anywhere in the US they'll help. I don't know if they have it in the UK or not, but they'll really help you make sure you do everything set up right for your business. They'll try to upsell you on other things you don't need, but just say no to those things. Just set up what you need and how you want to use it. But it's a good, safe way to get set up there. you can try to do this yourself, but if you don't want to run the risk of forgetting something or missing something, you can have them help you through that process. All right, any questions on this one?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
You know, for years I had my photography business that I operated under sole proprietorship. I didn't anticipate any, I was selling a product, you know, I made money. It was a for profit. I didn't anticipate any liability or any lawsuits or anything. And that worked out good for years. Then when I decided to take my, do in-home portraits and start moving my business in home, I did have a nonprofit, a small nonprofit that I worked with. I went ahead and did a doing business as under that nonprofit because I figured, you know, people coming to the house, they see in the house, if they trip on the sidewalk, they may want to, you know, sue me for what I had. So I felt I needed to protect my personal assets. So I did that. And I'll tell you guys what happened once we start talking about zoning laws. But anyway, I'll leave it at that for right now.
Okay. Yeah. The other advantage of the LLC is that when you set that up, you have a way to take money that does not count as income every time you get money. In other words, if it, as a sole proprietor, right, the income you bring in serves as income to you. With the LLC, you can your income can be you can be reduced by your expenses so that the amount you actually pay yourself is less than the income that comes in because you're taking out your expenses as well. Does that make sense? And that provides a great way for you to kind of take money in and the expenses that you're using for your business, cut down on your taxable income on the income that's coming in.
Is that deductibles?
Deductibles?
When you take it out, what your expenses are for the business.
Yeah. So so let's say you are doing photography and you make you bill $1,000 a month by taking pictures, and you get a check for $1,000 that comes in for a job you do. But you bought cameras of $500 and you paid for gas and travel, and it cost you $650 to do that job. So now, if you just stopped right there, you only have to, and you paid yourself $350 that was left, you're only paying tax on the $350, you're not paying tax on the $1,000.
Well, right. You still do that with a DBA. I can still do that with the DBA.
You can do that, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But on your
the big thing with incorporation is legally being protected. In my mind.
Yeah, you have the separate entity altogether, right? Yeah. All right. So these are just decisions. Yes.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know what DBA is. Are you going to cover S Corp and DBA?
DBA is doing business as.
Ruby just said it.
Doing business as. So
and
it's
S
like
Corp?
S Corp is a corporation status for an LLC that prevents double taxation. It gets into the taxation code for that organization. Yeah, your CPA or your accountant can help you if you need to convert to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My question was, is there a certain amount of business you can do before you have to employ one of these things? You know, before you have to incorporate your business or a profit or whatever?
Is there a certain
amount of, because like I'm doing these workshops.
Yeah.
And I'm not making that much money on them. I don't have, my business established yet.
Right.
So I heard that there was, but I'm not sure. Like if I make a certain amount of money, I have to report it.
I don't think it's a certain amount. I mean, obviously a sole proprietor is just you, right? You don't have partners and you don't have that. It's just all kind of your personal assets and liabilities. You can set up a partnership, which would just be, you got limited partnerships. and limited liability partnerships, you can do that. There's a couple of people involved with that. Your LLC, this protects you, that your assets, it separates your personal and your business assets. That's what that's really doing. Your corporation, C Corp, S Corp, B Corp, closed corp, nonprofit, corporation. I mean, there's just different versions of the corporation side of that based on what you're doing. I'm not aware it's really related to the amount of money you make. It's really more about how you operate, right? Are you kind of single solopreneur, kind of keeping it small? You can do the sole proprietorship and be okay. If you have a little bit more exposure and you need to set up as a LLC, that's really common. People do that, and it helps separate your business and your business and personal assets.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll give you a link too that gives you a little more detail on some of this from the SBA. SBA's got some good stuff on their website.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
I'll share that with you. All right. Setting up your business, you got to register your business and secure licenses for this.
Oh,
Just like how do you register your business? This is all dependent a little bit on your geography and all of that, where you live and all, and the licenses depend on state and local and what you're trying to do. So it all just depends, and you have to kind of look into that. I can't speak specifically to all of those situations. The bigger piece would be getting this federal and state tax IDs. This is the big thing. So it's considered an EIN, employee identification number. The best way I like to describe this is, as a person, we have a social security number, those of us in the US here, right? And that's kind of a unique number assigned to each one of us. Every business that's registered has a unique identifying number. That's the EIN, and a federal EIN. And if your state, I think there's 7 states that don't do sales tax, but all the other states do sales tax, income tax, state income tax. You have to set up a state tax ID for those states as well. So 2 different IDs if your state does collect state income tax. In Florida, we don't have that. So I only have an EIN for my businesses because we don't have state income tax. But you have to set that up. And you do that a lot of times through your state. Your state can do that for you, and they'll make sure that it's available. And again, you put in the information about your organization and you get registered as that unique number is your EIN number. And they use that to help with taxes, just like your social security number is used for the government to know who you are and attached to your personal. Ruby.
I've had an EIN for years, no problem with the IRS, with the federal government.
Yeah.
Once I decided to get my business in my home, and I made the mistake of registering with the state for to be able to save money on taxes and stuff. I forget what it's called. It's a tax ID for the state.
Right. Yep.
Then all of a sudden, I was being charged all this money for money that I wasn't even making yet. And I was like, you know what? This was a big mistake, because all of a sudden the state is writing you every other week wanting to know how much money you made so that they could get their money out of it and stuff. So that was an unpleasant situation. I wished I had not have done that, actually. So, that's something that you're going to have to look at. Once you get a tax ID and start registering with the state, things change.
Well, yeah, they want their money, and they want to help you do that. Make sure you're paying your taxes for sure. Yes. Diane.
Yeah, I have an EIN number. I had it for years, but I forgot what it is. How do I find out what it is? Or I just register for a new one? No,
you can look it up. You can look it up online. I think you can go to irs.gov and search for EIN numbers by state or the name you think the company was in and look for it.
Okay.
You should be able to find it.
Okay.
We got some good notes in the chat here. Lynn said that years ago that she set up an S Corp so that they could use the company money to provide health insurance for themselves. That's right. So there's yeah, talk to your CPI, your accountants about how you can leverage this so it serves you well.
That's good, important.
You know, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, I pay my own health insurance, and I use that as a business expense that I pay towards myself. So that's helpful. I'm not having to pay taxes, income tax on the money I spend on my health insurance. So a lot of benefits to having a business set up that you can run things through it. Leslie said many tax preparers offer free consultations, and state tax departments do the same. Yeah, another, you know, the EIN, the other thing it does is you don't have to put your social security number on stuff when you register for your business. You put the EIN number, protects you. The other thing I do is I do a lot of contract work with companies, and when I fill out the paperwork for them to pay me, I don't put my social security number on there. They pay my company, and that comes in as income into my company. And I don't have to pay tax on all that money that comes in as income, because it gets reduced down by my expenses that I spend in my business through the year. So I don't convert all of that to income. It's reduced by my expenses that I have. That's helpful. SBA, yeah, SBA is good. I'm going to give you a link to them in a minute. Okay, so that's all of those things. You know, the whole process of getting set up as a tax exempt 501(c). There's a whole process for that if you want to do that. If your state does, all states do sales tax. If you're selling products and they want you to collect sales tax, and that you have to be registered for them, collect the sales tax, and then pay that sales tax back onto them. It's a pain, but you got to do that to stay out of trouble. If you're fortunate to do something that doesn't actually get sales tax, then you don't have to worry about that, which is good. But so every state's different on that too, right? What they tax, what they don't tax, and all. So you have to kind of know your state rules on that. All right, number 9, open a business bank account. So, you know, get a checking account, a savings account. They'll give you debit cards, a credit card, all in that business name. If you have set up your business, they won't let you do this unless you have the EIN number. They want to see the EIN number to set it up. You just can't go in there and say, hey, can you set up an account with just a funny name? Right? Because when you go to the bank and you set up a personal account, they want to see your social security number. They want to know you are who you say you are, so you can't represent somebody else. When you go to set up a business account, you have to verify that that's your business as well. So you can't do business account first if you haven't set up as a legitimate company yet. So that's there. But this makes it real easy to kind of make sure. And then you have to be disciplined to run all your business stuff through the business accounts and all your personal stuff through your personal accounts. And it's very easy to get them mixed up sometimes, right? I mean, I'll be getting ready to pay for something and I'll think, okay, is this business? Is this personal? You know, I got a stack of cards here. Which one do I use for the right expense here so that it goes to the right account? And you want to keep those clean and separate as best you can. An accounting process is real helpful, because if you have quite a bit of money coming in and out, you want to keep this all separate and clean. QuickBooks is real popular. You can figure out how to use QuickBooks yourself or pay somebody to do it. I found this program, Wave. It's free and it's like a QuickBooks, but it's real easy to use. And I have it synced to my business bank account. So it brings in all those transactions automatically, and I can categorize them, and it'll do reports for me. And I use that for my accounting on my business. So my businesses aren't really big, and so it works really well tied to my bank. And I can periodically go in there and categorize things so they end up in the right category. I also do invoicing through Wave. Wave is really good for invoicing. So if somebody needs to pay me money, I create my invoices in Wave and send those out from there as well, which is nice. And it's free. All right. Let's see.
Kevin, do you use Wave?
I do, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I've been using QuickBooks. I started out with years ago, I had a free download for QuickBooks, and it's clean and easy, nothing complicated. But now QuickBooks wants a monthly fee for using QuickBooks. And I've been searching for something like you just posted, so thanks.
Right. Yeah, and Wave's been growing. I mean, they offer payroll. They do all kinds of stuff that you can pay for. I don't use any of that, but they have these other features they've added on. And yeah, I've got for both my businesses, I use Wave, and it's works really well. All right. 11, create a digital presence. So this is, again, okay, now you do your email, your website, your social media, you get this all set up. A lot of people find you online. There's a lot of things I don't like about Google, but their products I really like. That's the same with a lot of companies, right? I don't like them as a corporate company, but I like what they offer me sometimes, like Amazon, right? I like their convenience it offers me, but some of the bigger things are annoying. Google Workspace is something that you can use, and I use this for both of my businesses. The way it works, because most of you are familiar with Gmail, and rather than going out and buying Microsoft everything, you get the whole suite of docs and sheets and power and slides and all that for free. That's all part of it. But I pay, I think, $6 a month or so for my email. So like my Kevin@bestu.life, it's actually on the Gmail server, but it works with my domain name through my Google Workspace. And I can add more users at $6 a month if I want to, but it keeps it all into that Gmail interface that I'm used to. But when I send and receive emails, people just get it from Kevin@bestu.life with my domain name. So they let you use your domain name and on their platform, but you're not having to use the @gmail.com extension. So that's a nice feature there. So that's it. Yeah, Leslie put in the notes also about Google My Business. I have a whole class on that. Make sure you take that. That's one of the most freest, best ways to get noticed online ever. It's like free SEO right there that Google gives you. So we'll talk about that when we take that class, but it's a great little secret to use that. So that's obviously the website, you have to pay for hosting and build a website. Social media to create your, whatever the right social media platforms you need, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it is, Pinterest, whatever you need. That's that part. Insure your business. This again depends on what your business is. Do you need insurance for what you're doing or not? Some don't, some do, but you gotta look at that and see if there's a lot of exposure, you want to protect yourself on that and do it. I help with a local foster care agency, and we have insurance on that. You can imagine, right? We're working with foster kids, and we have to have, the state requires that organization has liability insurance. So for a nonprofit, that's quite a bit of our expense at that nonprofit. So that one requires it. But my businesses, I don't have insurance that I have to, because most of what I'm doing is teaching and consulting and training and coaching. Right. And if you had employees, you might have to have workers' comp, but if you don't have employees, you don't have to worry about that. All right. That's a lot. It's a lot to cover, a lot to set up and get going and think about. But once you get it up and going, you don't have to worry about a whole lot of it.